Welcome back. From Security, let's talk politics. Joining us in our Abuja studios is George Tunah, is the caretaker chairman of the PDP in Bayelsa State. Mr. Tunah, thank you so much for coming on the program and for your patience. All right, I think let me just ask the questions that Nigerians are just asking. So let's begin from there. What exactly is happening to the People's Democratic Party?
Yeah, thank you. Politics is happening, and a lot is happening, not unexpected. You know, when you have a convergence of people from different backgrounds, and of course politics having its own dynamics, conspiracy theories, and you know, power game. You expect some of these you know, issues here and there, but the beauty of it is that PDP is strong. PDP is well institutioned, and we always have our way. We've always come out of some terrible situations, and this is not an exception. As you can see, as it is right now, I can tell you that we are out of the red lines. You know, we had a serious issue on our hands, and to God be the glory. As it is today, I think we are out of the red lines. I once said that the party was in the theater bleeding. No surgeon around, you know, but as it is today, with what has happened, basically, we're like, how do I put this situation? A pilot, you know, taking off a flight fully loaded with people on board, and then you are headed on a particular route that has a lot of danger. And, you know, people in the control room it keeps telling you, issuing warning that, look, this route is, it has dangers. It's going to be disastrous, and it's not going to, you know, you're not going to land properly. But of course, the pilot felt it was, I mean, on doing the right thing, and then suddenly, maybe he sides a very thick fog, and then he realizes that these warnings are true, and I'm doing the wrong thing, and then takes an emergency dive, you know, to either return or correct or reroute, you know, that flight. Of course, it comes with a lot of shaking. People on board will have all manner of complaints. Some will abuse the pilot and all of that. But the important thing is that there is a diversion. You know, there is a return to normalcy. And that is what the situation we've had. Right. The manner in which we have traveled to get to this point might be, you know, a lot of people, different persons view it differently, the way the acting national chairman, you know, went about it. But what is important is that I think he has made the right, U-turn, and today we have two critical officers, of course, signatories, very important signatories in this affairs of our party, the national chairman and national secretary. And we have always maintained that, look, Senator Anyanwu is the national chairman of this party because the PDP is an organization governed by rules.
All right, Mr. Tunah, just a moment, you know, Mr. Tunah, if you can hear me.
Kept shouting.
Yeah, if you can hear me just a moment. You say you're out of the woods, you're out of the red line, but I don't think you're out of anywhere. You're even getting deeper, and I'll tell you why. This release from some officials of the NWC, they say the pronouncement of the acting national chairman have no foundation, as no organ of the party, including the NWC individual or group, has the power to cancel, overrule, veto, or vary the resolution of NEC under the constitution of the PDP as amended in 2017. The people that signed it are Taufik Arapaja, Deputy National Chairman South, Acting National Secretary, that's listed him, They also have the National Treasurer, National Auditor, National Publicity Secretary, National Financial Secretary, Vice Chairman Southeast, Caretaker Committee Chairman South-South, National Woman Leader, I think Senator Hayatu Bello Gwezo, and the National Vice Chairman, excuse me, Southwest. These are the people that signed to say Dama Gwinliaso, so the acting national chairman, has no right, has no powers to overrule or veto the decision of NEC, the 99th NEC. So what are you saying about you out of the woods here?
You see, like I said, well, I'm not bothered about when people do things that have no foundation in law. You know, this party is founded in laws and rules, our constitution. What the statement they have issued that they have read out there is of no moment. What NEC decision are you talking about? Which of the NEC? There was never a NEC, a 99th NEC. That is the truth of the matter. There was never a 99th NEC. The constitution is clear as to how a NEC meeting can be convened. And the constitution is very clear as to who issues notice of NEC. You see, the entire crisis we had in the party was, as to the issue of the national secretaryship, right? By our constitution, a national officer of the party is elected at the National Convention for a secure term of 4 years. Now, this term of office can only be cut short either by removal or by resignation, and other processes enabled by the Constitution. The only organ of the party that has the powers by our Constitution to elect or remove national officers is the Convention, not even the NEC. Now, unlike the situation where the Constitution allows NWC to take decisions on behalf of NEC in the case of emergency, it is not the same with the National Convention. No section of our Constitution gives any power to even the NEC to take any decision on behalf of convention. Whatever is restricted to be done by convention must be done by convention. So the issue of secretaryship, they said Anyanwu resigned. Up to this moment, no resignation letter. Our constitution does not compel, it does not compel, an officer who seeks elective office, for public office to resign. Anyanwu offered himself before screening committees, before he became flag bearer of our party. Where is the resignation letter from Anyanwu? By section 85 and 86 of the Electoral Act, every meeting of the party that is to elect officers of the party or remove or elect candidates of the party for elections or approve merger, you must give notice to INEC, 21 days notice to INEC. Now, what it means is that if an officer of party resigns by section 86 of the Electoral Act, which grants INEC the power to regulate all activities of the political party, you must file that report to INEC to say, look, the officer you came to monitor the convention wherein he was elected have resigned. Look at the resignation letter. There is no such thing. Coming to the side of the law, we had a court decision by the Enugu State High Court, which sacked Anyanwu. Quite all right. Anyanwu took a step and appealed that decision, got a stay, and continued in office. When the Court of Appeal upheld that decision, Anyanwu went to the Supreme Court. Now, for lawyers, you know that when you have an appeal, the appeal either succeeds or fails.
All right, Mr.
In the case of the appeal entered Supreme Court by Anyanwu, the Supreme Court did not decline jurisdiction. Supreme Court took that matter, decided it, Yeah, well, yeah, a number of things the Supreme Court said, inclusive of, look, these are domestic affairs and all. But the important thing is that the appeal was determined in its merit, and the appeal succeeded. What were the release sought by Anyanwu? Set aside this judgment that have sacked me. Did the Supreme Court do so? The answer is yes.
All right.
You know, so just like NEC said, it called for there are no ambiguity, no controversy. So
all right. So, Mr. Tunah,
being Secretary of the party, I think that also. Why will the National Secretary Anyanwu not be the one to issue notice for NEC as dictated by this constitution? Now, the danger is that if we had proceeded with a NEC meeting, because notice is a necessary condition precedent in the convening of NEC meeting. Once you get it wrong, you proceed in error, you have a NEC meeting that is not standing on anything, it collapses. And by our constitution, it is a NEC meeting that is to approve and set up Convention Planning Committee.
And INEC has indeed said that failure to have, if I may come in there now, the failure to have the chairman's signature and the national secretary signature is the reason that he didn't accept your party's notification for the convening of the NEC meeting. Granted that the conditions are imperfect, even after the Supreme Court's determination of the national secretaryship position. But the more important question is, in resolving it from yesterday's meeting, why didn't we have an expanded meeting? Why wasn't everyone carried along? Why didn't the acting national chairman have ensured that all the other 11 National Working Committee members were involved in this decision to reinstate Mr. Anyanwu as National Secretary?
No. The National Working Committee has no powers to reinstate anybody. Anyanwu,
I'm not saying that they have powers.
Anyanwu,
I'm saying, why were they not carried along?
No, I'm coming. Senator Anyanwu was reinstated the very moment Supreme Court gave that decision that set aside the judgments of the Enugu State High Court and that of the Court of Appeal Enugu. From that moment, Anyanwu resumed his duties as National Secretary fully. There's no part of our constitution that requires NWC, not even NEC, like I've said, can remove a national officer or even bring in anybody as national officer. Every national officer must emerge in a convention. Now, talking about whether NWC or NWC members were not carried along, or that is not the true position. It is not. You saw clearly that the national leadership, the national chairman has been engaging. The PDP Governors Forum has been engaging. There was a committee, a reconciliation committee set up by a joint meeting of both serving governors and former governors of this party with NWC members in attendance. That is the Saraki committee. Before this time, we had a committee of the governors led by the governor of Enugu State who went on inquiry mission in INEC on this same issue of national secretaryship. And they were told clearly, the national secretary that we have on our record is Samuel Anyanwu. So it has been a whole lot of engagement and, everybody, all organs of the party moving along that line. That is why you see that even the meeting with INEC, which was very unnecessary, but like I said, it doesn't matter however the pilot, decide to make that U-turn. The important thing is that that U-turn is made and we are stabilized. Now, if you look at even the press conference that the acting national chairman, did, you find the governors, representatives were there, the chairman of the Governors Forum was there. You look at the National Assembly caucus, leaders of our party in the National Assembly were there. NWC members were there. If you choose not to participate, not to be there, you are clearly on your own path. What I tell you here today is that, and kudos to the critical voices who stood in defense of, this party when it mattered most.
The governors that you talk about,
Chief Dr. Anyanwu and the
Mr. Tunah,
and the rest of the stakeholders and the Saraki committee,
Mr. Tunah,
Senator Dixon and all of them, who ensured that they had leadership to follow through due process, rule of law, and look, why did the Supreme Court even say, look, these are domestic issues? It is because they expect that a party that have made rules for itself must abide by your own rules.
But Mr. Tunah, the governors that you talk about are being identified as being part of the problem of the PDP that are fueling this continuing crisis in your party.
Yes, like I said, clearly a pilot was headed for destruction, right? The leadership of the party, governors and all, because governors are with all due respect, they are the cause of this problem. They went for a meeting at Ibadan and, declared that after Supreme Court judgment, and then say, oh, they're acting, Deputy National Secretary should be acting. They were not necessary. They were not necessary. And look, the National Legal Advisor of our party, with all due respect, because I expect that the National Legal Advisor is supposed to be, like what I would call compliance officer of the party. Ensure compliance, ensure that the party travels on the path of rule of law. And, so when that Supreme Court judgment came, all of these issues should have been laid to rest. The judgment was very clear. All the reliefs sought by Anyanwu were granted. The judgments of the court below and the lower court that sacked Anyanwu were set aside. In fact, those who went to court were described as meddlesome interlopers. They had no business. The one who was declared as National Secretary, Ude Okoye, with all due respect, the Supreme Court said it does not exist. So why did we come now that we're talking to this point?
Right. Now that we're talking about the court,
people just travel in impunity.
Right. Mr. Tunah, if you can hear me.
But again, I commend the acting National Secretary. It doesn't matter, however.
Let me come in quickly and speak to some issues. The elephants in the room, if I could say that, and that's about your person, because you referred to the courts, and naturally, one remember the cases, the corruption cases you had in court, the conviction as well. And if you can hear me, Mr. Tunah, I'd like to put this question in, if you can hear me. All right. So I just want to speak to your. I want to speak to your person, because you talk about the court, and I'm sure mentioning that a lot of people, perhaps those who are aware, will remember the cases you had in court as well. You had worked with the NDDC, the conviction, the case with the EFCC, and all of that, and also your own position, which is even being disputed in the PDP, particularly in Bayelsa State. Having the governor Doye Diri saying that we have a renegade who has decided to form a parallel PDP in Bayelsa State, working with former Governor Wike in Rivers State. Our party in Bayelsa has suspended Tunah. He says, for now, you are not a member of the party in Bayelsa, and you need to be called to order, or you will disrupt Bayelsa State. So maybe we could just speak on that. And I'll touch on some other issues that concerns Governor Wike, Mr. Damagum, and all of that. But speak to your own position first, even within the PDP in Bayelsa State.
Okay, first let me start with my issues with the EFCC. I had about 8-year-long prosecution on a 23-count charge brought against me by the EFCC, bordering on money laundering, obtaining by false pretense, and then forgery. The records are there for the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. In all of the 23-count charge, the court held that the EFCC could not prove, the EFCC failed to prove any of the 23-count charge. Yet there was a twist where the court formulated something on its own, and we are dealing with that. And the EFCC have since appealed that judgment. None of the 23-count charge succeeded. You can go, the records are there. These are public documents. But because the issues are before the Court of Appeal, I don't want to stress it. But EFCC enter an appeal against the judgment of the Federal High Court. So that is that. Now, well, in respect to, the reference you made to Diri, you see, that's why I insist that this party has a constitution. And people should likely know.
Mr. Tunah, just a second, if you can hear me, just to be clear, so we put all of the facts on the table, pardon me. So when you say that the court came up with a twist or came up with an issue, are you referring to the option of a 1 million naira fine, which you were asked to pay, or the 2-year term in prison? Is that the twist you're referring to? And also the other one on not disclosing your assets. Are those the twists you talk about?
Yeah, that's why I said that the court brought in some twists. Asset declaration before EFCC. Look, every human being can forget to list one. If you have things, you may forget to list one. It's the circumstance that matters. But we are contesting all of that. But the important thing is that the EFCC brought 23-count charge, bordering on money laundering, advance fee fraud, and forgery. And that those 23-count charge, none of them succeeded. The court held that I was not guilty of any of them. And don't forget, none of those offenses, be it money laundering, advance fee fraud, or forgery, that comes with option of fine. So if any of those charges succeeded, I won't be here. But I don't want to go into details because, as I said, issues are being contested already before the Court of Appeal. The 23-count charge that failed, the EFC have appealed, and the issues are there. On my own part, too, the twist that the court introduced, I have also appealed, which I know that we're going to, clear. But the important thing to note is that I was accused of 23-count charge bordering on money laundering, advance fee fraud, and forgery, and I came out clean. I think that is what is important. Now, look, the party has procedure. The state working committee of Bayelsa cannot validly suspend a zonal officer. But even when they did that, I didn't take it, I followed through the procedures outlined in our constitution by appealing that suspension to the next layer of authority, which is what the constitution says. And that suspension was lifted by the zonal executive committee. And that is it. So there is no suspension. I am not under any suspension as we speak. And after the zonal executive committee vacated the suspension, those who suspended me didn't take any further step. They didn't appeal further to the National Executive Committee to reverse the lifting of my suspension by the zone. And you see, we must learn to abide by the rule of law. You have made constitution for yourself, follow it. Like that is what I did. Even though I know that the state committee had no right to suspend me, but I didn't take it for granted. I followed through with the procedures laid down in the constitution and got that suspension, vacated. And that is the position as it is. And when I say my position is contested, there is no contest. I am the zonal secretary of our party in the South-South zone, having emerged, at a properly conducted Congress in Cross River State. And I only chair a caretaker committee, for Bayelsa following the dissolution of the state working committee.
And your case is
like the document you read out. Hello?
Yeah, you can land on that.
The document that you just read out there, you see that there are some signatories there that, clearly, there's a court order that, as of today, recognizes the leadership of Chief Dan Osi Obe as the authentic leadership of the party in the South-South zone, right? That order restrains Chief Emma Ogidi and co from parading themselves as leaders of the party. that order restrains the party from having any dealing whatsoever with, Chief Emma and co, except for Chief Dan Obi. But you were parading a document signed by, Chief Emma and you are saying is the National Caretaker Chairman for South. Impunity won't take us anywhere. If I were the national, it's not in my position to determine, but if I were Chief Dan Obi, the National Vice Chairman, all of them who signed that document dealing, relating with Chief Magida and all of them, I'll bring contempt charges against them. I'll proceed against them. You see, because we must learn, as opposition party, you cannot hold government accountable to account when you yourself, you cannot manage your own party within the confines of the enable laws. You cannot respect your own constitution. The court makes a pronouncement you cannot respect. You can't abide. You can't confine yourself.
Mr. Tunah, if you can hear us.
Of, what the law says. But you say you're opposition party and you want to solve whole government accountable to
Mr. Tunah, if you can hear us, please.
The problem. So as it is today, we are out of the
you can hear me, Mr. Tunah.
Doesn't matter whoever wants to sign, whatever, what.
Yes. Just if you can hear me. Okay, I hope you can hear me, Mr. Tunah. Okay. I just wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Tunah, I don't know what court, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over on the issue of party leadership. The Supreme Court has clearly said that you don't go near any court. Don't come to this court if it has nothing to do with nomination of candidate for election as allowed, I think, in Section 84, so subsection 14 of the Electoral Act. Any other thing that has to do with internal issues of your party, just go to your constitution. So let's stay with the South-South zonal controversy. There was a Congress held in Calabar that Dan Obi was returned re-elected, and there were celebrations, but Damagung and the NWC now installed a caretaker committee, which they are now in charge of, I think, Edo State. No, that should be Delta State. Since the Delta State governor moved, it wasn't Dan Obi that was sent there. It was actually Ima Ogidi. So when you say you went to court to get a court order, when the court has said, when it comes to leadership and membership, don't come near us, by what are trying to make me understand, how does that work?
Well, let me say, see, we are taking this, the decision of the Supreme Court out of context. You see, there is, when rights are infringed upon, the proper venue, of course, to determine those rights and ventilate is the court. For instance, now, if I follow through the processes of becoming a candidate and I'm nominated, I win primaries and I become a candidate of a party, right? It's internal affairs. But if you now, maybe because you're a national chairman, you have to send name and you remove my name, it activates my right to approach the court for redress, and it activates the jurisdiction of the court. When we went to court, we didn't go to determine who is the authentic chairman, national vice chairman of the party in the South-South. That will clearly fall within the confines of what the Supreme Court has said, don't come. But when you have followed through your constitution and you have done a Congress, right, as stipulated by your constitution, and you have emerged through a Congress, and then you now have a right. Somebody now tries to say, look, you are not entitled to the fruit of this election, to this Congress. I won't allow you. It activates your, right to redress. It also activates the jurisdiction of the court. Every conflict at that level must be resolved by the court. It's a constitutional right. But I cannot say the court should come and determine between me and Chief Dan Obi, who is the national vice chairman of the party PDP. No. That will clearly fall.
Well, you politicians have a clever way of looking at laws. Mr. Tunah, just a moment. We need to go on a quick break, and we'll come back and wrap up the conversation with you in just a moment. My apologies. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We're still with Party Politics, and Mr. George Tunah has been our guest in the last half hour or so. And Mr. George, it's been interesting, you know, listening to you articulate your own case in the PDP South-South. And it is pretty much symptomatic of what is happening with the PDP at the national level. So in winding down now, I'd like you to talk to us about if the party is positioning for failure, particularly because of concerns being raised about its lack of readiness for the coming off cycle elections in Ekiti, in Anambra, and indeed also for 2027.
Yeah, thank you. You see, we were headed for doom, you know, for failures, for destruction, and all of that. But like I said, thank God, Chief Pilot, the acting national chairman, you know, did a drastic reverse U-turn, and yes, it will shake off the craft. A lot of people, there will be shakes in the craft and, you know, balance. Some will abuse him and all of that. But the important thing is that there's a U-turn. As we speak today, I can tell you, with the decision firmly now settled that Senator Samuel Anyanwu is our national secretary, of course, which he has always been from the day the Supreme Court made that pronouncement. We are good. We are good. I can tell you that, look, the PDP is loved by Nigerians. There is no party, and I can say it with all amount of fidelity, there is no party as organized, as institutionalized, you know, as solid as the PDP. And we need this party to survive. Not just because in the interest of we the members, but in the interest of our democracy and in the interest, you know, of the welfare and well-being of the people of Nigeria, because you need a viable opposition to hold government to account at all times for the greater good of the people, you know. So.
All right, Mr. Tunah, we'll only be too willing to bring you feedback, you know, from Nigerians on whether or not the PDP is very much loved by Nigerians in the coming days. But we must thank you very much for coming through on this particular one. We're talking with Mr. George Tunah, Caretaker Chairman, PDP, Bayelsa State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we have just something more for you before we exit the stage this morning on the program. And it's coming from Ondo State. The Catholic Diocese of Ondo has reacted to the demolition of the memorial park built in Owo in honor of the victims of the June 5, 2022 massacre of St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church. The memorial park built by the administration of former governor, that's Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, was demolished on orders from Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa following the request by the palace of the paramount ruler of the town, the Olowo of Owo, on the grounds that the location contradicts the culture and tradition of the town. And that drew a lot of concerns following the demolition days back. But now it's becoming clear the reason for the demolition, guys. A place as sacred as that, which also brings very, very unpleasant memories about what happened in Owo in 2022. I wonder how, you know, this comes through for the people who were bereaved in that town in Owo, and indeed for the entire Ondo State as well.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be sorted out. I don't know whether it's about the culture or about the location, whatever it is. I'm sure they will have a way to remember the people that lost their life to that incident. But that's the much we can take on the program. Thank you so much for being part of it. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
I'm Kari Okikulu. Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is next.
And we'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Kuka.